Hello guys, welcome to another tutorial, and in this tutorial we are going to learn about files and directories in Linux. So before we start, let's have a quick overview what we are going to do in this tutorial. So we are going to perform various operations related to files and directories, and this will help us to correlate several commands in Linux along with which we can perform along with a file or directories. So the first thing which we are going to do is we are going to list the files. Then what we are going to do, we are going to create a file, then we are going to copy a file, or yes, copy a file, then we are going to rename a file, and finally when we are done with all the operation, then we will remove that file. Similar operation we will perform with the directory. So let's begin with the practical. So right now I have these many folders and files in my directory. So what I will do is I will create one test directory, and then so then I will move inside that directory. So right now you need not to worry about it what I am doing. So let's begin now. So first of all, let me list the contents of this directory and see in which directory I am. So pwd is a command which tells me what is my present working directory, and it is home Linux geek test. So what I am going to do here is I am going to create a file. So to create a file we use option or command touch and then the name of the file. Let me give it any name. So let me give it name Linux nerd. So you can see we have created one file. If I do ls-l, then since it is just an apply file, the size of this file is 0 and the date on which it was created is Jan 13, and this is the time stamp at which this was created. So it is a time stamp in 24-hour format, and then this is the user of this file and this is the group of this file. We will discuss more on this later, or we will have understanding of this later. Then as we know, for a file this first character is empty, or we can say a slash is represent a file. So we have known, or we have got to know that ls-l have several fields, and we know the meaning of at least most of the fields, and rest of the fields I will discuss later. So what we have done right now, we have just created one file using our touch command, and then we have listed it with ls command. The next thing which we are going to do is we have created a file, we have listed file, now we are going to copy a file. So to copy a file we have a command cp and then linux nerd to linux nerd 1, and when I do ls-, you can see that now two files are created, and since these are empty, let me create another file, echo hello, and then t1 and then echo cp t1 to t2. So now at least we can confirm that both files are same. So if I check the content of file t1, then you can see that the content is hello, and if I check the content of t2, it is hello again. So you can see that both files are identical. So we have verified that cp command has copied our content from t1 to t2. So this is the command with which we can copy a file. Now if we want to rename the file, then we can do it easily, and that is the command for it is mb t1 or t2 to t3. So now you can see that we have renamed t2 file to t3, and now t2 is gone and t3 is a new file, or we can say the renamed file. So the question here is, what will happen if we will try to rename t1 to t3, or let's suppose we have one file t1 and we want to rename it to file which was already existing. Then Linux will quietly rename that file, and now you can see t1 is gone. So we should be always very careful uh, when we are renaming a file, and we should see that there don't exist the file with the same name, because Linux will silently copy that file with that name, and then your source file that was t1, that is gone. So, and finally we are done with our testing, so we can remove all of these files. So if I want to remove single file, I will do rm linux nar, and you can see the file is gone. But if I want to remove these two files, then what I can do is I can give their names one by one in a long list like this, and we can press rm, and now you can see that all of the files are gone. So these are the operations which we can perform with files. So if I summarize it here, then we have seen that for listing of file we are doing listing of files, we will do ls. Then to create a file, what we have used, we can use touch, and then okay, here is a sort, another command which we can use, or let's say in another way we can create it like this. For file creation we can use this way, but this we will discuss later because it is quite typical. The other way, as of now, the file whichever we have created, we have used either echo or we have used touch. But now another way is to use vi, that is an editor. So if you want to create any file in Linux, you can use any editor of your choice. So for, let's suppose I am using vi, then I will do test.txt, and right now, okay, first let me list the content. So here we don't have any file, so what I will do is I will use any editor. There are several editors which are available in Linux. So we have vi, we have nano, we have vim. So right now I will use vi, that is the inbuilt, or we can say which comes with Linux, and I will do test.txt, and then I will write hello here. So now if you do ls-l, you can see it's a file which has been created just now, and the content of this file is hello. So this is another way in which we can create a file. And so right now we have covered using, either you can use touch or you can using any editor of your choice, you can create files in Linux. Now to copy, we have copy file, we have cp command. Then if we want to rename a file, we can use mb command, then rm command as well, removing a file. So these are the common operations which we can perform with a file, and the key takeaways here are that mb command should be used very mb command should be used very wisely, because it can cause problem for us. If the file is already existing, it will quietly remove that file, or we can say rename that or overwrite that file. So it should be used very wisely. And the other key takeaways can be, okay, let me remember. Okay, so Okay. Okay, so here I will briefly discuss what are the various types of file and what is basically various types of file and what is of what is file in Linux. So a file is basically a, what you can say, a unit in Linux which stores information, and everything in Linux is a file. So what do I mean by this? I mean, if you will do ls-l, then you can go to directory. Here you can see that we have several folders, and if I go inside dev, you can see that even the CPU of the system, which is hardware, it's it is also represented as a file in Linux. So everything, be it hardware, be it any device, or be it any virtual device, everything is represented as a file in Linux. And the second thing is, if if the thing, or we can say if the entity is not a file in Linux, then it is a process. So a Linux is a unit in a file is a unit in Linux which stores information, and uh, second thing is, if it is not a file, then it's a process. So this is also a very important thing, that everything in Linux is a file or a process. And second thing is, what is smallest entity in Linux which stores information. So this is not a standard definition of files in Linux. So you can go through any website. So what I prefer is, you can go to TLDB, and we have several guides here. You can go through, or you can go by Wikipedia. Linux file. So files in everything is a file, and if it is not a file, it is a process in Linux. This is a definition by Java Point. Okay, let me go by this main page of Linux. Okay, this is a command. No, this is not the right. Okay. Let me see if there is any specific definition. Okay, so here you can see, on a Unix system everything is a file. If something is not a file, it's a process. So this is a very standard definition which I have picked from the official website of Linux, and it says that on a Unix system everything is a file, and if something is not a file, then it's a process. So if you want to have any what you can say, if you want to read anything about Linux, we should always refer to this official website of Linux, that is tldb.org. And so I will give this link here where you can read about Linux, and it contains too much information about Linux, or you can say everything about Linux, I would say. So now coming back to another topic, what are the types of file? So in Linux there are different types of file. Again, I will refer to the same site. So directory, file that are list of other files. So directories basically is a list of other files. A special file, these are the mechanism used for input and output. Most files are in dev, we will discuss them later. Okay, and then links, and then name pipes and sockets. So there are several kind of files in Linux, and these can be either directories, special files, or sockets, or name pipes, or links. So this also we will discuss later. And for the special files, as the document mentioned, that there are inside dev directory, most special files are in dev directory. So let me show you an example. If you do lsi you will see that C stands for character based devices, P for binary based devices, L is for the symbolic link, as it was, and you can see it is linking from this file to this file, so it's a link, and basically this is the link to this file. And what was that? Special files, okay, that was a special file. Then links, we have seen a special file as the character based, or it can be binary based, as we have seen here. C for character, B for binary. So moving on further, we have also seen that what are the various kind of files in Linux. So we have seen that we can have special files, then directory itself is considered as a file, which contains the list of other files. Then we have sockets, then we have name pipes, and finally we can have links. So we have links. So this topic I will take later. What are links, and what is the difference between a soft link and hard link. So this is the topic which we will discuss later, or you can read it on your own if you want to. So I will make a separate video for this one. So moving on further, let's discuss about the operations with directories in Linux. And I think we have covered a lot about files in Linux. So let's move to another topic, that are directories. So for directories, we will perform the same operation so that we may know that what are the different commands which we can use. So first we are going to list, and we are going to list the directories inside a directory, and then we are going to create a directory, then change the directory, or we can say navigate in and out of that directory. Then we are going to rename the same directory, and finally we are going to remove it once we are done with all the operations. And you can see I have written some commands, or the commands which we can use for the same. So ls for listing, mkdir for making a directory. So let me give the let me show you the practical for this. So again I am at the same place, and I have created one directory test. So here I will be performing all the operations. So let me enable it first. So what I want to do is I want to create a directory first. So what I will do is mkdir, that is make directory command, and I want to create another directory inside test. So you can see right now I am inside home Linux geek test, and I have created one directory, as you can confirm with this symbol D at the beginning, and this is the name of the directory, that is test1. So now what I am going to do is I am going to navigate inside this directory. So what I will do is I will do cd test1, and you can see I am now I am inside test1. So this is how we can move inside a directory. And now if we want to get back to the previous directory, what we can do is we will do cd dot. So right now I am inside home Linux Geek Test. So you can see that we have successfully moved inside the directory and moved out of it again. So this is the command to navigate in and out of a directory. Now what if we want to rename a directory? Then we will use mb command and it will rename test1 to test2 now. But let's do one more testing here. What if cd test2 and then I have created one file inside it. Now again at test2, but now test2 has one more file and that is t. So what if I will do test2 to test3? What I have done here is I have created one file inside test2 directory and I am trying to rename it to test3. So will it work? Yeah, it has worked well, and you can see that test2 has been renamed to test3. And if we go inside test3, we can see that contents of test2 directory has been copied inside test3. So it means we can rename a directory even if the content is there inside it. And now what I will do is I will remove this key. Now we will see how we can remove the directory which we have just created, that is test3. So command for this is rmdir test3. So you can see now the test3 directory has been removed. So rm is for remove and then directory dir. So rmdir is a command which we can use to remove any directory. And here again one more test we are going to do, and that is we are going to create test3 again, and then we are going to navigate inside test3 directory. Then we are going to create a file inside it, and then again we are going to navigate out of this test3. Now let me use the same command again and see what it says, that it has failed to remove test3 because directory is not empty. So this can be scenario in our real life as well. So in this case the command to remove a file is rm-r, that is recursively, and then test3. So you can see now it has removed test3 recursively. So -r tells rm to remove the contents inside test3 and then finally remove test3 as well. But there can be scenarios where you will have to use rm-rf. F is for forcefully removing any content which is present inside test3, and this should be used very wisely because again it is a very dangerous command, and once the data is gone, it is we cannot recover the data again in Linux. Though there are several softwares available, but that will be a bit tricky and may consume a lot of time sometimes. So it is always good practice to remove or not to use rm-rf unless and until it is required. So what we have seen here is that for listing a directory we are using listing directories, we are using ls, then we use mkdir for making a directory, then we use cd command to create a directory, then mb command to move or rename, we also say move a directory, then rm here is to remove a directory, and another option can be rm-r if the directory is not empty, remove a directory if it is not empty, And the second command, that is rmdir, it is used when, let me write it here, remove a directory if it is empty. Now the special thing here is that when we list a file, our files and directory, we are listing is it using ls, or let me create one, sorry, this is a file, let me create a directory. So now if I will do ls-l, you can see that I have test3 file inside this and test4 directory inside this. But if I create a file touch.t, then when I do ls-l, magic, .t is not there, so where it has gone. So basically in Linux, whenever we start a file with .t, then it becomes a hidden file and it cannot be seen by anyone. So to view these files, we will have to use option A in Linux, which is used to view the hidden files. And now you can see that .t is available. But now again, one more question has arisen: what are these dot and double dot here? So the dot represents the current directory and cd dot dot represents the previous directory, but that is called the parent directory. So if I want to understand it, let me get inside test4. So if I go by hierarchy, here test4 is a child of test3 and test is a child of Linux geeks and so on. So when I say that dot dot represents the parent directory, it means it is representing test4. So if I say change the directory or move to directory dot dot, then what it will do, it will go to the parent directory. So you can see it has moved to parent directory now, and earlier we were inside test4 and now we are inside test directory. So this is what dot dot mean. And if I do cd dot, then it will not do anything, because dot is used to represent the current directory itself. So if I again do pwd, so you can see right now I am inside the current directory. So this is what dot and double dot means in Linux. And there are several few options, or we can say several other symbols like this. So if I do cd tilde, you can see now earlier I was inside test and now I am inside Linux geek. So what does tilde mean? Tilde means the user, that is equal, sorry, who am I? Right now I am user Linux geek and my home directory is home Linux geek. So this tilde represents the home directory of the user with which I am logged in. And when I do cd tilde, it will change my directory to my home directory. It means it is saying that go to directory tilde. And what is tilde here? Home Linux geek. So it is basically equivalent to home Linux geeks. So let me show you one more time. Test, then test3, okay, test4. So right now I am inside home Linux geek test4. So if I do home Linux geeks, so now my directory has been changed to home Linux geeks. And same thing I can do with cd tilde. So for that, what I will do is I will move back to test4 and magic again. Minus directory here, minus symbol here represents the previous directory in which I was. So earlier I was inside uh, home Linux Geek test4, and then what I did is I moved to home Linux Geek. So after this what I did is I pressed cd minus, and it took me to the previous directory in which I was. So you can see that we have again moved back to home Linux Geek test4. So now again I will do cd tilde, and you can see I am inside home Linux Geek. So either you can use this representation or you can use cd tilde, both are equivalent. So here tilde means the home directory with which user I am logged in. So we have covered this point, dot and double dot. What does dot and double dot means in Linux, and what are the symbols like comma, tilde and minus means in Linux. So that is all for this video. If you will have liked this video, please subscribe so that you may get notification when I post a new video. And if you have any questions, you can put your comments in the video so that I may answer that. And that is all. Thank you.